Right, so hello everybody and welcome to WCCF Tech Talks podcast, games, technology, that sort of thing. So today we are joined by me, so hello everybody, and
Hi,
Keith,
Chris.
hello, and Alessio,
Great.
hello. So,
Say brains.
so I thought he said brains as well. So yeah, we've got three topics today. We're going to talk about a group of sexually harassing cunts in Activision Blizzard. We're going to talk about Valve and Steamdeck, and we're going to talk about Battlefield. Well, Battlefield Portal, because Keith likes his Battlefields.
I do, and I need to know more about this portal. I've been on vacation, so I just got back, and I wasn't on much of anything.
So, how many sexually transmitted diseases did you bring back from Vegas, Keith?
None, because what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Hey! Oh God. Oh God. It's ruined. So yeah, first topic. I will lead on this one. Activision Blizzard have been sued. And
About
it's
time.
not just and it's the one who's suing them is the most interesting. It is actually the state of California. So it's not just a regular person suing them.
Interesting.
The long story so the long story short is that there's so many claims, but the environment of Activision Blizzard's horrible, sexual harassment against female staff, and this is by regular staff, managers just slap on the wrist to any member of staff who's just essentially all but raping of the female staff. Female staff get paid less than male staff in the same / equivalent role. Pretty much think about anything that's sexist, and Activision Blizzard are pretty much being accused of it. And it seems like if the state of California has gone to lawsuit, I would imagine they've got a reasonable amount of evidence. I don't know what anybody else thinks there.
I mean, it seems that way. And they keep putting out statements that are really nothing statements regarding it. So see the one by what's his name? I can never remember the guy's name. Alexander, Jason, James, that guy.
Which one are you on about? In Blizzard?
Yeah.
J. Allen Brack.
Yeah, that's it. J. Allen Brack. He had put out a statement regarding it. Of course, everybody's surprised and nobody had any idea.
Yeah. No, nobody ever knows. Despite the fact that it's something I saw on somebody linked on Twitter, and back in BlizzCon in 2010, a woman literally just asked members of Blizzard, which includes J. Allen Brack and Alex Afrasiabia, however you say his name, and she asked them about is there going to be a chance of essentially making the female characters make it so they don't look like they come out of a magazine, a lingerie magazine,
Right.
and they just took the piss out of her straight to her face on a very public stage in front of thousands and thousands of fans, and obviously the camera's rolling. If that's what they're like to fans in public, God knows what they're like to staff behind the scenes.
Right. And, sometimes I'm one of the people that I think that a lot of this is put on and blown up, but this doesn't seem very put on. This seems to be just kind of like how it is there. And, look, I'm just going to, maybe I throw myself under the bus when I say this, but I am so far from white knighting for anyone, and I'm not going to. But
no,
there does come a point where you have to look over at somebody who's just not being a decent person and go, dude, bruh, shut up. You know what I mean? Like you have to kind of be able to call out blatant inequality. Like I never get offended on behalf of someone, but I as somebody who is married and has a daughter, there is a part of me that goes, dude, don't say that, or don't be that way, or what? How would I feel if that were my daughter and she was being treated that way? Like, I feel like there's some type of obligation to hold each other to some type of accountability to keep it from getting to this point. You know, because there's lines everywhere, and somebody has to draw the line. And I'm not saying that you can't, that everybody has to, be prudes about everything, but it seems like there's no line here if you're on one side of the aisle, I guess, is the way to say it.
Yeah. I mean, you can read through the lawsuit is quite easy to find, but the number of literal, allegations, or as they say, factual allegations, it rolls into the hundreds. In fact, I'm scrolling down now, 148. 148 different, well, claims against them. Different, it's just madness. And I just don't. It baffles me, and especially the one which I was reading earlier on, which still sticks in my mind. Alex Afrasiabi, I can't say his name. We'll call him Prick. So his office, so Prick's office, had a nickname of the Crosby Suite, or the Crosby Suite, sorry, and obviously being named after Bill Crosby. Crosby, whatever. So essentially, he's a prick. So yeah, so hundreds of actions, so many claims against them, and you know what? I believe every single word of it. And it's not because it's Activision Blizzard. I mean, partly is because, again, we've seen how they've acted towards people in the public who are fans of them. But it's the video games industry. I mean, Ubisoft, they've covered up for rapists for long enough, and they still cover up for them. So, it is happening. It's happening, sadly. The video games industry is one big frat party until things start to come to light.
The problem that I have is that it had to take a lawsuit before anybody even seemed to be willing to address it.
Yeah.
And it's and at that point, what you end up with is everybody's fighting for their point rather than just trying to settle each other down along the way to where you can self-police it. Because that's the thing about the gaming industry, is the reason that the gaming industry has thrived. I mean, we even have the ESRB. And that came out of the fact that we said we didn't need other people to come into our industry and try to regulate for us. And if we can't act like decent human beings along the way, then we are inviting in even more regulation. It's kind of like when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're told, hey, here's your curfew, be home by this point. Yeah. And if you always make that curfew, you're not going to be asked all along the way where you are every step of the way. But if you start missing that curfew, you might as well strap a GPS to your butthole. You're asking for it.
To stand corrected, it's 117 factual allegations.
Wow.
Not 148. 117 factual allegations, ranging from sexual harassment to pay disparity to discrimination, and that's against both gender and race.
That's insane. It's unfortunate.
Do you any thoughts, Alessio?
Yeah, as Kid said, it is super disappointing, and I mean, it doesn't look like there is any room for interpretation in this case, and especially as someone who played many hundreds, if not thousands of hours on Blizzard games, it is very disappointing. And like you reported on the website, even World of Warcraft fans are staging protests, and because, for example, Afrasiabi, as you mentioned earlier, actually has an NPC in Stormwind, is a kind of a martial NPC standing right at the gates of Stormwind City. in the game, and now people want him removed, and obviously, yeah, it's hard to disagree with that at this point. And
Well, unless they rename the gate to the Gates of Crosby or something.
also, the former president and founder, I think, as well, of Blizzard, Mike Morhaime, a few years ago, he retired, basically. He also spoke about this. He kind of asked, he said he was sorry for everyone, and especially women, because he failed them. And thing is, a lot of women answered, said, "Okay, that's fine, but we let you know. We sent you letters, outlining this situation, but they were basically ignored."
It's like, oh, that's great.
While he was still in charge, so that's even more.
Ooh, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I mean, when the ex-boss himself's essentially just saying he's ashamed and sorry. We know. In reality, as much as Activision Blizzard's statement on Sonic is that they're appalled at the allegations and the false, they call them false. We know they're not. We know they're not. We know how they treat staff anyway. We've known for long enough, from crunch to laying them off, that they don't give a flying fuck about staff. Not unless they're really high up and rich already. So yeah, it's just.
I just don't understand why, why people would act this way, But of course, it comes from.
It's the culture. It's that frat boy culture.
It's the reality is, and this goes for all people of all walks of life and everything.
Yeah.
People will do and get away with what they're allowed to do and get away with. All it takes for a lot of people, you've heard the expression, "a lock stops the honest thief," right? When you say, "Why do you lock your doors? They're going to break the windows anyway," right? It's like, well, it stops the honest thief. So what you end up having is, and I'm not defending what was said or what was done. I'm just saying that it happens by human nature. People will push the limits nonstop, and they will if they can get away with it, they're going to do it until they get told no. And you do have those that will push past the no point, and you deal with that. But most people will stop at a certain point. And if guys have the expression henpecking for when you get women together around here. I don't know if you guys have that, but you get a bunch of women together and they start going, nah, 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 nah. Guys do the same thing. You get a bunch of guys together and they start, it just progressively we start insulting each other, people around us, and it progressively gets worse until somebody stops it. But if nobody stops it.
The problem is the video games have for too long, and this is both the people who play it. It's always been, for too long, the image has been of just what guys play, sort of thing, the guy area. And the reality is that women have always been half of the audience, and sadly just not half of the people making the games. So the lesser people, the lesser number, it's not the lesser people, it's just the fact there's fewer women making the games, and the guys there seem to think they can take advantage of them. And management have, and the fact is, Ubisoft has had management full of rapists, actual rapists.
So they just let it ride.
Sadly, I'm going to say, Yves Guillemot has covered up for those rapists because they're friends of his. And it seems in this situation where it doesn't seem there's any allegations of actual rape here against Activision. It does seem that there's still sexual misconduct and sexual harassment, which is just as bad. Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's still on that level. It's still up there, and it's still fucking rotten. And the second Twatty Cakes or Afrasiabe and his Crosby suite gets closed down and preferably burnt to the ground, the better. Yeah, I'd fuck them.
Fair enough.
That's just
I'm going to
something.
say, I've not spent a penny on Activision Blizzard games in 9 years, and the worst thing is during COVID, despite the fact that they were utter twats to staff, they did some good things, and I was praising them.
Well,
I considered spending money for them, and you know what? Fuck them. I will never spend money with that company ever again. I'll review their games and I'll be fair to them, like when I gave Black Ops 4 or Black Ops Cold War 8.5 or whatever I gave it out of 10 because it is a good game, but they won't get any money off me.
fair enough. Speaking of getting money off of us.
Oh yeah, Valve's got money off me.
Yeah, Valve got money off me too. What about you, Alessio?
Oh, for the Steam Deck, you mean?
Yes.
Not yet, honestly, because I'm not terribly keen on the handheld, gaming on the go yet. But yeah, it is a very interesting announcement to make Valve. Of course, there were rumors. I think it was called Steampal internally, as the project itself. But yeah, it is a very big proposition by Valve, and clearly they are trying to repeat the success of the Nintendo Switch in a way. Although that is, of course, in part due to Nintendo's games. So that's hard to replicate. But
100%.
Then again, I suppose Valve certainly are going to get some success because the first day, the servers were broken, and it screwed me over, as you're well aware. So now my pre-purchase pre-order is not going to be available until Q2 2022 because Valve cannot launch anything.
Mine will be first quarter, but
shut up.
Yes.
So Keith had a very interesting idea, Alessio. He seems to think that the only reason you're not interested in Steamdeck is because it's AMD architecture.
I gotta laugh.
That's not true. But yeah, go ahead.
So I got some things, like as far as the hardware side of things and the Steam Deck, I do think there's a lot of people who are going to jump into it out of the hype, and I don't know that they know exactly what they're getting into when it comes to PC gaming on such a small scale.
Yeah, it's going to be weird.
I've actually brought it up. I don't know if I brought it up in the podcast, but I did in the past on an article regarding. I did. And unless you remember, whenever I looked at all the different streaming services, like Project X Cloud when it was still Project X Cloud, and GeForce Now, and something else streaming on a phone. So I had my Xbox controller with my phone hooked up to it, and my phone it's an iPhone 8 Plus, so it's not like a small phone, but there are bigger. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when I was playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider. PC games are tailored towards larger screens, and
they are.
Well, there's a few things, like you can scale the UI, yes, but a lot of the detail and the way the camera is angled, the way the FOV works, everything gets so cramped that if you're trying to play these AAA games, these big adventure games, that it's not as easy as people think it is on such a small screen. On the flip side, I think there's a very large majority, or I would actually at this point say a majority of people who are jumping into it and know exactly what they're getting into, and they want it because of that. So the Steam Deck seems very polarizing in how people respond to it. It's either really optimistic or really pessimistic. There's very few people in the middle.
Yeah, the hardware is very strong, to the point that it has been compared to to the Xbox Series X in kind of per pixel performance, because it is obviously targeting a much lower resolution, But at the same time, something that's really going to be, we'll have to have the device in our hands, because before we can give a proper assessment is the size of the device, because it's going to be bigger than the Nintendo Switch. So I don't know if it's going to be comfortable for a lot of people, to hold in your hands for a lot of time.
It's going to be a weird one. I suppose I wondered, like, the battery life and everything.
No, I think the battery life is supposed to be pretty good, but yeah, it also has 2 trackpads, and yeah, it has back buttons. That's good, of course. Something that's interesting is that Valve seems to be targeting 30 FPS. I don't know if you knew that, Kate.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's going to come into the play if you're looking for like some of these AAA titles and such. But if you look for those older games or the side scrollers or the if you keep the realm of expectations reasonable, I think you'll find that it should be pretty good.
I think that's it. I think that for a portable thing, targeting 30 FPS for games like Cyberpunk, I don't really have an issue with that. I think it's going to hit far more than 30 FPS for, like you say, the older games. You've got, you're probably going to be able to play, well, what you're playing now, Keith, Doom 2016. That'll be running at far more than 30 FPS.
Exactly. So I think you're going to be good in there. Expectations need to be managed pretty heavily. If Valve can do that, if they can manage the expectations of this system, I think they'll be in a pretty good spot. If they can't manage those expectations, oh buddy, yeah, they might need to go back to the drawing board. So
yeah. Something that's interesting, and it also ties into our next topic, is that of course the Steam Deck is running on Proton by default now. And someone basically found a hack to apply AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution to basically all Vulkan games, just as part of a full screen hack for Proton.
Oh, nice.
So that should translate to the Steam Deck as well. So it should help with performance as well.
Yeah. Especially at that space, that resolution, because it's so small, and some people are like, oh, it's 1280 by 800. It's fine on something that small. It's going to look good.
I say it's because the screen's not that big. So yeah.
Yeah. And in my own testing, like the APUs on the desktop run 720p games like a champ. So
yeah,
I don't think it's going to be a problem. I'm quite excited. So I'm positive,
fair enough.
But I also know what I'm getting into.
Yeah. So the last topic then, so we'll let you introduce us for this, Alessio. Tell us a bit about Battlefield Portal.
Right. Battlefield Portal was recently unveiled at EA Play Live, but I got to see a presentation earlier this week, the past week. So it's honestly impressive on so many levels because to begin with, we have 6 remastered maps from arguably the 3 best games in the franchise yet. That is to say, Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, and Battlefield 3. So we have.
I think 2 was better than 3.
Well. Anyway, we have remastered maps like Caspian Border or Valparaiso, El Alamein. So some of the fan favorite maps are being remastered, and they are adding destructibility to Battlefield 1942, which obviously didn't have any in the original game. And but the most interesting thing is that all of these will be part of a sandbox kind of mode alongside the regular 7 maps from Battlefield 2042. And basically, it will be possible to tweak almost any type of settings. You can basically change the factions. You can choose which which soldiers are being deployed. You can mix and match basically one team from 1942 against a team from Battlefield 3, for example, from different eras, and then you can really go crazy with all kinds of tweaks. You can, for example, balance the lower rate of fire of Battlefield 1942 with more health, or you can have their their weapons do more damage, or you can prevent, for example, the other team's ability to go prone. You can do really really interesting things to change up the way regular Battlefield games are played.
Okay.
It
sounds
really
interesting.
I just want to play Caspian Border again.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite maps ever.
There's even a logic editor, so you can, more advanced user can go do some really complex stuff like specific events only trigger based on specific conditions. For example, you can set a whole team to get a specific weapon once the team has reached a certain threshold of points. So you can set, of course, different victory conditions, specific in-game events, and it's really sounds like. I mean, the fan reaction was great as far as I can see, and even you can even create asymmetric teams. So you can potentially even create a kind of PvE mods. You can even play by yourself against 127 bots if you want to, or you can play with a few friends against bots in what is essentially the PvE mod at this point.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so you can really go crazy with that, and it's also going to be very easy to share creations. It will all be done on a web page, so you can do it, of course, even on mobile if you want, and then when you're ready to go in the game, you just share it, and it's good to go.
I mean, I've got to admit, I've always been a fan of Battlefield, so I am looking forward to it as much as the games have been mixed. So yeah, it really sounds good to me.
I am positive on it. I am actually quite positive this week, except for the first topic.
Okay. No, yeah, it does sound great, and there is also another mode that has to be unveiled still. It's the hazard mode that's going to be, focused on squad play.
Yeah.
Although they are stressing it is not a battle royale mode, so we'll have to wait and see on that one.
Yeah, wait and see on that. It's still EA, so they could still mess it up. And I don't think they've got enough battle royales now.
Right?
Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. It sounds interesting, and again, it's Battlefield, so I've played every single Battlefield. Well, I'm going to say I started with Battlefield 2, then I went back to 1942, and I've never stopped playing them since then. It's just that some have been lesser than others. So I really, really hope this is as good as it looks like it could be.
Nice, 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 nice.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think that's about everything from me. I can't think of anything else. And I know you've got to rush off, Keith. You have
Yeah.
Kiddlywinks.
Yeah, I gotta go pick up a kid. She's
Hopefully
mine
it's
though.
yours.
She's mine. She's mine.
So yeah, I've nothing to add. How about you, Alessio?
Just quick mention of the Dead Space remake announcement, which was also announced at EA Play Live, and so far it looks good and seems like it's going to be also filled with a few improvements, story, combat, etc. So it's not just a simple remake, but more like a Resident Evil style remake, as the rumors had said. So it's definitely one that's
These
worth
are the
watching.
popularity of Res Evil. Yeah,
There's a bunch of interesting stuff coming from EA, I think.
yeah. It's a wait and see. Time will tell.
Right. At least
Yeah.
with them.
So yeah. How about you, Keith? Anything to add to the
Nope.
end?
I'm good. I need to go refill my water cup.
Water cup. Not really water, is it? It's alcohol. You heathen. Right. So well, thank you everybody, and we will no doubt see you very soon. And who knows? If we're fortunate, Activision will have burnt to the ground. Right. Cheers, everybody.
Take care.
See you in a bit.
Bye.